Subscribe to Echo Tales for deeply emotional, romantic, and mature stories that echo through your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and comment to support meaningful storytelling. Maria's life had become a series of quiet moments stitched together by a persistent loneliness that no amount of distraction could ease. At 38, she was no stranger to solitude, but this was different. It felt like an ache that settled deep inside her chest, a constant companion she never invited but couldn't shake. Her small apartment, once a place of comfort, had grown silent and cold. The walls seemed to close in with every passing day, amplifying the emptiness that wrapped itself around her like a shroud. Years ago, Maria had dreamed of love and happiness, but life had a way of teaching hard lessons. After a difficult breakup and the exhaustion of a demanding career, she found herself retreating from the world, convinced that this was all there was for her now. Quiet nights and whispered memories. Her heart had learned to protect itself, building walls higher than she ever intended. Yet behind those walls was a longing, a yearning for something real and tender. One summer afternoon, everything began to change in the most unexpected way. A new neighbor moved in next door, a young man named Leo. He was the kind of person who seemed to carry sunshine with him, his laughter light and easy, filling the hallway with a warmth Maria hadn't realized she missed. Watching him from her window, she felt something stir inside her. A strange, unfamiliar feeling. It was like a whisper in the silence, a fluttering hope that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she thought. But Maria was cautious. She told herself it was just loneliness playing tricks on her heart, that the gap between their ages was too wide, and that such feelings were foolish. Yet every time Leo smiled, or paused to say hello, the loneliness loosened its grip, and her heart trembled with a gentle excitement. It was as if the quiet echo inside her had found a melody again. Then, one day, the moment she didn't expect arrived. Leo knocked on her door. Her breath caught in her throat as she opened it, the youthful glow in his eyes meeting hers. "Hi, I'm Leo. I just moved in next door," he said with a smile that seemed to invite trust. In that simple moment, something shifted. For the first time in a long time, Maria felt seen. Not just as a lonely woman, but as someone who could still be touched by connection, by friendship, and maybe something more. That knock was the beginning of a journey Maria never planned to take. It was the start of a delicate dance between longing and fear, hope and hesitation. And as their worlds began to intertwine, Maria couldn't help but wonder, was this just a fleeting moment, or the start of something that could heal her broken heart? Her story was about to change, and the echoes of her loneliness would soon be replaced by the quiet, beautiful sound of a heart beginning to open again. When Leo first knocked on Maria's door, neither of them could have predicted how much that simple visit would change their lives. What started as a casual introduction blossomed into something deeper. A friendship that felt like a gentle balm to two hearts quietly aching in their own ways. Leo was young, full of restless energy and dreams yet to be realized, while Maria carried the weight of years spent protecting herself from pain. But somehow their differences didn't matter. Instead, they became the threads weaving them closer together. Maria invited Leo in for tea, and as the afternoon slipped into evening, they found themselves lost in conversation. He spoke with a raw honesty about the excitement and fear of starting anew in the city. How everything felt both thrilling and uncertain. Maria listened, offering quiet support and stories from her own past, sharing pieces of herself she hadn't given away in a long time. For the first time in years, she felt a lightness in her chest, a flicker of warmth that had been missing. Their friendship grew quickly, almost effortlessly. They spent hours walking through nearby parks, sharing meals, and exchanging little moments of everyday life. Leo's youthful laughter became a sound Maria treasured, breaking through the loneliness she'd been drowning in. She saw in him a kind of hope she thought she'd lost, and Leo found in her a steady calm, a wisdom that grounded him when life felt overwhelming. But beneath the surface of their easy friendship, something more complicated was beginning to bloom. Maria felt it in the way her heart quickened when Leo was near, the gentle longing that whispered in quiet moments. She caught herself stealing glances, wondering if he felt the same. Yet she was afraid that these feelings might be nothing more than loneliness disguised as love, or that the difference in their ages would make any deeper connection impossible. One evening, after they'd watched a silly movie and shared a quiet dinner, Leo's smile softened, and his gaze held something new. He reached out and touched her hand gently, a small, almost shy gesture, but it sent a thrill through Maria's entire being. It was a moment filled with unspoken questions and fragile hopes. Was Leo feeling the same pull she was? Or was it just a fleeting moment between friends? Maria's mind raced with doubts and desires. Could she allow herself to hope for more? Was it foolish to want something so unexpected? The heart, she realized, doesn't always follow reason. And sometimes the most unlikely connections are the ones that echo the deepest. Their friendship was no longer just comfort. It had become a delicate dance on the edge of something uncharted. Both Maria and Leo were standing at a crossroads, unsure where the path might lead, but drawn forward by a force they couldn't deny. As the days passed, the quiet tension between them grew, weaving a beautiful, fragile thread that neither wanted to break. But with every smile, every touch, and every lingering look, they both knew their story was about to take a turn. One that would test their courage, their hearts, and the quiet hope that had begun to bloom in the shadows of their loneliness. The days following that quiet touch of Leo's hand marked a turning point neither Maria nor he could ignore. What had once been a simple friendship was now a delicate thread, stretched taut with feelings neither wanted to name aloud. Each glance held more meaning. Every smile lingered just a little longer, and the silence between them became charged with the unspoken. Maria felt her heart caught between hope and fear. Could she really allow herself to want more from someone so much younger? Society's quiet judgment echoed in her mind, reminding her that this path was risky. One few dared to walk openly. Yet, when Leo was near, all those worries faded, replaced by a warmth she hadn't felt in years. He brought light to her days, and in his presence, she rediscovered a part of herself she thought was lost forever. For Leo, Maria was a revelation. She was the calm in his storm, the steady hand that guided him when the city felt overwhelming. His youthful energy found balance in her quiet strength. But he too wrestled with the invisible line their age created. How much could he dare to hope? How could he reconcile the intensity of his feelings with the reality of their worlds? One afternoon, they sat side by side on the park bench, the sun casting golden light around them. Leo's hand found Maria's again, this time holding it firmly, as if afraid to let go. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all barriers seemed to dissolve. But with that closeness came the weight of uncertainty. What did this mean? Could their hearts beat together without breaking? Maria's thoughts were a whirlwind. She knew her feelings were real, deep and tender, but she was terrified of what might come next. What if Leo only saw her as a fleeting comfort? What if this connection shattered everything she had carefully built around her broken heart? Despite her fears, Maria found herself leaning into the moment, savoring the sweetness of a love that felt impossible, yet undeniable. They were crossing invisible lines, not just age, but the boundaries of what was safe and expected. And with every step forward, the risk grew. But so did the promise of something beautiful. That night, Maria lay awake, replaying their conversations, the softness in Leo's voice, the gentle brush of his fingers. She wondered how their story would unfold. Would it be a fleeting chapter, or the beginning of a love that could withstand time and judgment. Leo, too, was restless. His feelings for Maria were no longer a secret even to himself. Yet, he struggled with the reality of their situation. Could he offer her the stability she deserved? Could their love survive the challenges ahead? The quiet ache in their hearts was growing louder, demanding attention. Both knew that soon, the delicate balance they had maintained would face its true test. But neither wanted to turn back now. They were caught in a tender, fragile dance, one where the stakes were high, and the rewards, if they dared, could change their lives forever. As the night deepened, Maria whispered into the darkness, "What comes next?" And somewhere, Leo felt the same question echo in his soul, waiting for the answer that only courage and time could reveal. The air between Maria and Leo had grown thick with unspoken feelings for weeks, but neither dared to cross the fragile line that separated friendship from something deeper. Maria, who had spent years guarding her heart against pain, found herself trembling on the edge of a truth she could no longer hide. It was late one evening, the kind of quiet night where even the smallest sounds seemed to carry weight, when she finally decided to speak. Sitting on the worn couch in her living room, Maria looked into Leo's eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and warmth, and whispered, "Leo, I think I'm falling for you." Her voice was barely audible, but the words echoed loudly in the stillness. She laid bare the part of herself that longed for connection, for love, for a chance to be seen in all her complicated beauty. For a moment, Leo was silent. His face was a canvas of emotions, surprise, tenderness, and something else Maria hadn't expected, hope. "I feel the same," he confessed, his voice soft and steady, as if admitting this truth was both terrifying and freeing. The weight of their shared secret settled between them, a fragile promise hanging in the air. But then reality intruded, as it always does. Leo's smile faltered, and his eyes darkened with worry. "Maria, I don't want to hurt you," he said, his words careful. This isn't easy for me either." The difference in their ages, the uncertainty of what the future might hold, it all loomed like a shadow, threatening to unravel the fragile bond they had formed. Maria understood. She felt the ache of vulnerability mixing with hope. Could two people from such different worlds really find a way to be together? Was love enough to bridge the gap of years and expectations? Yet, despite the doubts, the longing inside her was undeniable. She wanted to believe in the possibility of a love that defied convention, that whispered courage into the hearts of those brave enough to listen. That night, they talked for hours about fears, dreams, and the quiet hopes that had brought them together. They shared their scars and their secrets, realizing that love was not about perfection, but about accepting the messy, beautiful complexity of two souls meeting in the middle. Maria's heart ached with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The road ahead was uncertain, and the world outside might never understand what they shared. But in that moment, with Leo's hand gently holding hers, she chose to believe in the power of their connection. Their confession was not the end, but the beginning of a delicate journey, one filled with moments of tenderness and trials yet to come. It was a love wrapped in caution and courage, a fragile dance on the edge of the unknown. As the night wore on, Maria realized something profound. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is admit what our heart has been whispering all along. And, in doing so, we open the door to a love that, no matter how uncertain, promises to change us forever. For a brief, shining moment, Maria and Leo allowed themselves to believe in the possibility of love without limits. Their hearts danced in that fragile space between hope and fear, each day a gentle promise that maybe, just maybe, they could rewrite the rules of what love was supposed to be. But life, as it often does, has a way of testing even the most tender beginnings. The news came like a sudden gust of cold wind on an otherwise warm day. Leo had been offered a new job opportunity far away, in another city. It was a dream position, one he couldn't refuse. Yet, it felt like a cruel twist of fate to Maria, who had just begun to open her heart to him. The very thought of losing him shattered the fragile bubble they had built. They sat together in the dim light of her apartment, the weight of silence heavier than words. Maria's heart ached with a deep, familiar loneliness creeping back in, sharper this time. She wondered how she could face the emptiness once more, when she had just begun to feel whole again. Leo's voice broke the quiet. "I don't want to leave you," he said, his tone raw and honest. "But this is important for my future. I wish things were different." Maria reached out, squeezing his hand. "I understand," she whispered, fighting tears. "Your dreams matter, and I want you to chase them." The truth was harsh and unyielding. Sometimes love means holding on, and sometimes it means letting go. They had shared a rare connection, but the world outside was relentless, reminding them of the challenges that came with their age difference, their different places in life. In those final days before Leo's move, every moment felt charged with bittersweet emotion. They walked through the city streets hand in hand, stealing as much time together as possible, knowing that soon their paths would diverge. Every laugh was tinged with sadness, every glance a silent goodbye. The night before Leo left, they sat, quietly on Maria's balcony, the city lights sparkling below like distant stars. Neither wanted to say goodbye outright, so instead, they shared a tender, lingering silence. Maria rested her head on Leo's shoulder, holding on to the warmth of his presence, trying to memorize the feeling. As Leo packed his bags, Maria's heart shattered quietly. She knew that love didn't always come wrapped in happily ever after endings. Sometimes love was the ache left behind, the echo of a beautiful moment that would stay with you forever. When the day came for Leo to leave, they parted with tears and whispered promises to stay in touch. Maria watched him walk away, the distance between them growing with every step. The emptiness returned, but this time it was different. It carried a quiet hope that what they had shared could survive, even if it was only in memory. Love had touched their lives in a way neither expected, reminding them both that the heart is brave and resilient. And sometimes, the greatest love stories aren't about forever. They're about the moments that change us and teach us to keep believing, no matter what. Months had passed since Leo left, and Maria's apartment was quiet once again. The loneliness she had feared returned, but something inside her had shifted. The love she had found, brief and unexpected, left behind a warmth that no amount of silence could erase. It was a gentle echo in her heart, a quiet reminder that even when love doesn't last forever, it never truly disappears. Every evening, Maria found herself looking out the window, searching the horizon for something she couldn't quite name. The city lights blinked back at her, distant and steady, much like the hope she held on to. She would trace the memories of their time together, the way Leo's laughter had filled her rooms, the softness of his touch, the honesty in his eyes, and feel a bittersweet smile tug at her lips. Though separated by miles, their connection had not broken. One ordinary evening, as Maria sipped her tea by the window, her phone buzzed softly. It was a message from Leo. Her heart skipped a beat as she opened it. "I still hear your heart, even miles away." The words felt like a warm embrace, a reassurance that distance could not erase what they had shared. That simple message carried a world of meaning. It reminded Maria that love is not always about being together physically. Sometimes, it's about holding space in each other's hearts. It was proof that the fragile bond they had formed was real, lasting, and powerful enough to transcend time and space. Maria realized that her story with Leo was not a tale of loss, but one of transformation. The love they found had awakened something within her, a courage to open her heart again, to hope again, and to believe that she deserved happiness, no matter what form it took. It was a love that would echo through her life like a beautiful song, soft but unforgettable. And Leo, too, carried those echoes with him. In a new city, facing new challenges, his heart held onto the memory of Maria's kindness and strength. Their love had changed him, taught him to see beyond the surface and embrace the complexity of human connection. Sometimes life doesn't give us the stories we expect. Sometimes love is not about forever, but about the moments that teach us who we are and what we can become. Maria understood that now. She was no longer the lonely woman behind closed doors, but someone who had dared to love deeply, even when it was scary and uncertain. As she closed her eyes that night, Maria whispered a silent thank you to the universe, for Leo, for the love they shared, and for the echoes that would live in her heart forever. Because some loves don't end, they simply change shape, becoming the quiet, beautiful music that guides us through life's darkest and brightest days. And in that music, Maria found peace.